I'm Brian Moretta. I'm Head of Tax Advantage Research at Hardman Co. So I'd like to welcome Marcus Love from Love Ventures.
I'm Marcus Love, General Partner at Love Ventures. Before we get started, there is the usual disclaimer that this is a very illiquid and high-risk asset class, and you should seek your own tax advice. So who are Love Ventures? Well, we back exceptional founders that are reimagining how and where we spend our time and money. As I said, I'm general partner. I founded the business with my brother, Adrian. My background is I spent nearly 10 years in Paris working in technology with large firms like Capgemini. I moved back to London in 2005. I spent 14 years in the city selling independent equity research to fund managers. And during that period, I trained my brain to look at large mega trends, all in the listed space, listed stocks. But I started angel investing in 2015 with my brother. And we built up a pretty nice portfolio and a strong track record. We backed around 20 companies. We backed Revolut, where we've just taken out some money at a 400x. The valuation was 45 billion. The portfolio is actually at 7.65 of what we put in, so TVPI in the jargon, and a 48% IRR. And what we decided to do was build Love Ventures and try and replicate that and build a super stellar team around us. So in the investment team is myself and my brother. His background is in property. We have Alice and Bill, who joined us from Backed VC and Barclays Ventures, respectively. And we are basically, the way we pitch ourselves as a VC in an EIS wrapper. We think and breathe VC. So if I look at the investment committee we have 2 people in the US and 3 in the UK. So Jules Pancholi was a founding board member at Skyscanner. He saw that journey all the way up to an exit to C-Trip for 1.4 billion. They had Sir Mike Moritz on the board, who's probably the best venture capitalist the British Isles has ever produced when he was at Sequoia. Kelly DeCourty was brought to Silicon Valley by Meg Whitman when she was at Hewlett Packard. She subsequently went to Google, where she was SVP of their go-to-market operations and strategy in the cloud. She subsequently joined UiPath, which is a Romanian-based poster child for European VC listed on the NASDAQ, and she left there last summer. She's starting a new role shortly. John Lunn was a serial entrepreneur. Then he went to PayPal, where he was a 4th employee in Europe, saw huge growth in PayPal. He's a renowned fintech and payments expert globally. He's currently on his next startup called Gravy, which is cloud orchestrations, payments in the cloud. Dan Cobley was Google MD in the UK and Ireland. He left that to start ClearScore and Salary Finance, which you may be familiar with. He's a very prolific angel investor here in the UK and joined our investment committee last summer. And then finally, Rob Hamilton set up the Instant Group, which was basically flexible workspace before WeWork. We got 2 senior advisors at the bottom. I won't go into them more for the leadership team. And the striking thing here is that while only 8% of European VCs have actually worked in a startup or a scale-up, nearly all of our team have. And 3 of those 5 investment committee members are exited. And as you see in the little bubble on the right, they help add value to the companies. When we back them, we do strategy sessions. We sit down with them to work out how we can get them from seed to Series A, which is primarily where we specialize. We look at large keys as themes and trends. We've heard today about adoption of AI, but actually we like untapping productivity. We want to untap the UK's productivity. We've been at a stable and not very exciting growth level since 2008, the global financial crisis. We're lagging the US by about 16%. But actually, I think, like others have said, we think we do have the talent right here. We hosted an event in our offices last night with Hussein Kasai, who exited on Fido and has now started a new AI business. I went to the launch of the London AI Tech Hub, which he did a few weeks ago. It's just fantastic turnout and some really exciting businesses, all started here in the UK. We want to invest with purpose. So companies like Temba, we're going to talk about that, solving for the housing crisis and getting people onto the ladder for the first time. And actually, we often invest at the intersection of these areas. Moving on to our core sectors of expertise, we have fintech, future of work, and consumer tech. We don't have time to go into big detail on these, but suffice to say that fintech with the UK as a superpower in this sector. We've always been very strong in it in Love Ventures, obviously with the likes of companies like Revolut that we've backed, but about 40% of our portfolio to date has been in fintech. The future of work is how we are becoming more capital efficient with the use of software for companies, but also for individuals. I think we're all using lots of amazing tools to make ourselves more efficient. And we talk a lot about what we call the 10x human, which sounds like sci-fi, but it's not. It's just making us better and better and more productive. And then consumer tech, around 40% of the UK's unicorns come from the consumer-facing sector. We're very good at it as well. And we want to back world-beating UK-based EIS-eligible companies that grow and scale globally. To give a few examples of companies in our portfolio, we're not going to be able to do enough today. We've got 27 to date. I'm going to bring to life just a couple. So one is Tembo. I think some of the participants on the call may be familiar with because it's a digital mortgage broker. They've just done their Series B with a very big US investor called Goodwater, who backed Monzo at Series C. We invested very early when it was just a handful of employees. They've now just reached 100 employees. They did £6.5 million of revenue in 2024. They've now got a cash savings product, which has 250 million AUA. They're going to try and grow that to 2 billion this year. The most exciting bullet point is the last one, actually. After 4 years of existence, this is the 5th fastest growing consumer fintech in the UK at that revenue level. So having backed the likes of Revolut, we see very strong similarities with this sort of company, which are growing very fast, executing very, very well, strongly backed by other really good VCs. We see here that you've got Aviva Ventures that put money into the last round as well, and on a real strong path to grow the business meaningfully and then to exit. The second one I wanted to spotlight is Fifth Dimension. So Fifth Dimension is a AI co-worker for property professionals. It's like having an assistant in your email that when you do, say, a planning application for a mid-sized building, you need about 15,000 documents. Ellie, the co-worker, will say to you, I can see you're doing a planning application, let me assist you. And from that moment forth, you've got someone really to help speed up the process and cut time, making you more efficient. We invested in October 23 in a round led by CCAM, which is the UK-based preeminent VC firm. And in the last round led by SpeedInvest, which is a European VC, we were the only EIS fund in that round. And that's why I said at the beginning, we are a VC and an EIS wrapper. You are going to get access to top investments through EIS eligible vehicles that we operate into rounds that no other VCs are getting into that have the EIS moniker, because we work really hard to get into these rounds through our advisors with our reputation and the value added we can bring. On the right-hand side, just one of those bullet points, the revenue that this company is doing with lots of companies like Knight Frank, Canary Wharf Group, etc. We've made about 40% of those introductions, commercial introductions to that company. And that's really where we add a lot of value, is bringing in our network and obviously the ability to follow on with capital as well. Our due diligence process, just to highlight here, these are annualized 24 figures. So we saw around 2,000 companies last year. We took 29 through to advisor, made 23 to IC, and made 12 investments. So we do make around one a month. We made a 13th investment outside of the EIS fund, which was our co-investment Series B investment into Tembo. So that's, I think, probably fairly standard for a lot of the other participants on this call, but it's a very, very thorough process. We have to meet with the advisors that are down the bottom left-hand side of the screen. Everything is thoroughly screened as they go through and validated by our tax consultant, who is Philip Hare, and by our lawyer to make sure we get the EIS eligibility for all of our downstream investors. Investing with Love Ventures today, just a brief highlight of who, the top level numbers. We have £20 million of investment today, all started from scratch. As Brian said, we are new kids on the block, but we've actually been around 5 years this summer. We are FCA regulated as of last July. We are a serious bona fide outfit. So we're challenging existing. I think today's webinar was under new approaches to EIS. So we see ourselves very much in a slightly sleepy world. We want to shake it up. We want to provide the VC feeling to investors of what they get with us. We're investing on a 7-year horizon in the EIS fund. The minimum investment is £25,000. There's a 3% upfront fee that gets reduced for subsequent investors that come back and invest with us again. There's a 2% per annum management fee over 4 years. In the future, we're hoping to bring that down as our AUM increases, and we're targeting a 3.17x return. So for a £25,000 investment, we're hoping to return just over £75,000, all exempt from capital gains tax for EIS eligible investors. Crucially, the bottom right-hand bullet point, we really want to bring investors on the journey with us. So as I said, we hosted an event last night. We had 100 people here. It was absolutely thriving. It was a fantastic event. We also do deployment updates monthly when we deploy the capital, and biannual reports with a bit more in-depth behind the scenes views of each of these companies. And we're targeting 12 companies, as I said, during the April to April tax year. So any investors coming in now will be deployed from April 25 to April 26. If you've liked what you've seen today, then on the bottom right, there's a sign up QR code to join a webinar next Wednesday with one of the investment companies that we're going to be backing after this April close. So Chris Milligan is a previously exited founder. He's now into his next business. He's backed by Experian, and what he's building is employee verification. He's at £1.3 million of annualized revenues. He's a fantastic founder. So do please join us, and open to the floor for questions. Thank you.
Hi, Marcus. Thank you for that. Question for you. Obviously, as Brian mentioned and you mentioned as well, you're relatively new, 5 years old as the fund, looking for a kind of 7-year holding period. Where do you see exits coming from? I guess this is one thing that investors and advisors are really looking for. Where do you see them coming from? And obviously IPO listings is one of those routes. How do you see the markets, the UK markets particularly, for the ability to go public for these companies?
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you asked that question. We're working on an exit right now. It's actually a future investor that wants to invest in the business, and we're looking at a up to 3x return, having held the company for 3 years and 1 month. So we're outside the 3 exemption period, and the IRR will be 32%. So it doesn't have to be an IPO. Obviously, IPO is the holy grail for the likes of Revolut that we backed. But within our fund, we have opportunities for a lot of these companies for larger trade exits. The environment in the UK is much better. There's a recycling of capital going on. There are secondaries going on, as we call them, so they don't have to be IPOs. And the market is perking up. So we've seen that opportunity. We see several portfolio companies. We've got 2 actually potential secondaries as we're speaking right now. But there's one that we're going to pursue, one where we're going to keep the company for longer, as we believe it could be a fund returner.
Great, thanks. And then secondly, you mentioned there about one of the founders you've invested in. I think it's still on the screen there now. How important do you think it is the founder, and particularly founders with experience of existing businesses?
Yeah, it's really important. We just got a very short slide deck. Actually, one of our slides is about what we look for. So founder market fit, as we call it, is one of them. So deep domain expertise, preferably a founder who's done something before, like Chris has. It doesn't have to be a success. A failure is fine too, because they learn from that. Chris happens to have had a successful exit. So he really knows what he's doing and has deep domain expertise in where we invested. But there are other criteria as well, which are important: large total addressable market, a scalable model, good unit economics for the business, depth of cap table, make sure there's other good investors in there, and obviously a path to sensible exit for our investors.
Thank you very much, Marcus. Very good to see that you've got an exit coming in. I think the market has been struggling a bit for exit over the last sort of 2-3 years. As I mentioned, there's been a downturn. So the fact that you're going to get ones, I think sort of we've seen 1 or 2 others recently. So hopefully that is a sign of an upturn in the market for that. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to everybody for attending and staying to the end. And we look forward to seeing you hopefully on another webinar soon. Thank you very much.